So we do have what we call the 5 dimensions of potential, which are almost like a checklist that all of our recruiters are looking for, all of our hiring managers are looking for. Let me see if I remember them all. Ambition, resilience, empathy, judgment, and learning agility. So, ambition, are you going above and beyond? Be sure to have examples of how you received a task, but you went above that to show that you are thinking ahead and pushing boundaries. Resilience, if you get knocked down, how did you get back up? How did you receive criticism and take that and go forward? Empathy, are you able to work in groups with people? Because everything you're going to do is going to be group work in some way. Um, Learning agility, if you sometimes you just got to like jump from one thing to another. Sometimes you get thrown into things and you might not get as much information up front. Are you able to take the little bit of information and run with it? That's something that we're looking for. And judgment, are you able to take the data and understand the situation and make strong decisions?
Very, very
Yes,
quickly to
definitely.
answer the end of the question, because it
Mhm.
says, besides just asking about their journey, you can also just say, hey, I'm checking in. My coursework is going well. This is what I'm doing. This is kind of like, the side projects I'm doing, hoping you're doing well as well. And then I also like to do with my mentors is I tend to check in with them quarterly. So it like just to keep the conversation going a little bit so they don't forget about you in those aspects. But I think that's a really easy way for you to just say, hey, thinking about you, hoping you're doing well. Here's some things that I'm working on as well within my coursework and the things I'm doing as
Mm. And also just to build on what said Destiny, I think also catch the details in conversation that you have with your mentors. And so like for like birthdays or like remembering stuff that they say that is not related with the work, and you have those catch up with them, and you give those little points like how is going the family or stuff like that, and this will create a bigger connections.
I
Can I
love
add
that.
one thing,
Yeah,
Tangela,
throw it
real
in
quick?
there.
So like everyone is saying, having your direct mentors. I know me personally, I don't have a direct mentor, but I have indirect mentors. That's how I like to look at it because it's people that I'm working with that they'll check in with me and be like, hey, I see that you're doing this. What you're doing is great. What you're doing is appreciated. How are you doing? And they'll just kind of check in with me because they know the work that you're doing. And remembering some of those details fostered the relationship. I'm very quirky at reaching out to people because it's hard on me to do so. But when I'm able to reach out to people and have those conversations, they're very beneficial. And remembering those details will kind of foster that continuous and natural relationship that can turn into that formalized, mentorship where it was just, oh, we were just speaking from here to there to that, oh, I'm looking to you to help me understand where my next path should be. In all honesty, I didn't think it was going to happen, but my manager has really become like a mentor for me because we're having biweekly check-ins just as manager and work or whatever, but it's become, hey, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Is there anything on my developmental side that I need to do? Like, what would you suggest? What would you have done? And it's become that kind of like indirect mentorship, as I was mentioning, that just kind of fosters into that true professional and official mentorship.
So I always knew I wanted to work in the beauty industry, the cosmetic industry. And like you were saying, I majored in chemistry when I went to Howard. I would say one like big indicator that I knew I wanted to be in this industry was just my day-to-day passions, what I gravitated towards. I used to be very into DIYs on YouTube, like in those days. And I would talk about beauty products a lot, and I always knew I liked science as well. So it got to a time where I started making like products for my sister because she was experiencing some issues with acne. And during that time, I ran into like issues with like preservation and things like that. So I began to really appreciate the science aspect of beauty. So then I, just took advantage of like the professors I had on campus and different things like that, asking questions. So one thing don't be afraid to ask questions. I would go to my professors in the chemistry department. I would go to professors that weren't even mine in the School of like Pharmacy, just to see what was going on, if they had advice in terms of like career path and things like that. And then in terms of using that to get into L'Oreal, I started researching companies that were prominent in the beauty and cosmetic space. And that's how I came across the Diverse Future Leaders Fellowship. And from there, that's where I met Tandela. And from there, I continued to grow my network.
So I think we've talked about kind of the importance of mentors and kind of how they can help get you to the next step. But I think in terms of, I really like the question in the chat of like the maintenance of it all. And I think what's important is treat it kind of like you're shopping around. Not everybody whose career you admire has to be your mentor. Not every Black woman at an organization that you like has to be your mentor, right? And so be sure that you are, and it should really be coffee chats of, yes, your career journey, what are you interested in? And really just, Nicole is one of my mentors because I just joined her division. And so, but, Nicole and I are friends. So I asked her like, hey, help me with this specific issue. And then also, how do you navigate different things? It should flow and the relationship should flow. And over time, it's kind of like a normal conversation with someone you respect, right? The conversation can evolve and flow into different things. You get into a cadence that works for you. But don't be disappointed if you don't feel a connection right away with someone, because there are a lot of factors for that. And I don't think it's good. It's always great to just have one mentor. I think you should be reaching out to a ton of people and exploring all of your options, and then really doubling down and focusing on building a relationship organically with the people that you respect.
I love that. And Nicole, I know you wanted to touch on mentorship too.
Just to piggyback on that, I think, again, it should be something that's very organic, but also have an idea of why you want that person to be your mentor, right? Like, and what is your intention on having that relationship with them? And I think just being honest, if it's that you need coaching to have more vision of what you should be doing in your next step, speak on that and ask for that flat out. If it's that you see an opportunity and that person may be connected to that organization or connected with somebody that is the hiring manager for a role, I think just being transparent with that, that's key. And I think that that's respected. One thing that Sydney brushed on that I would just echo, because it was a big learning for me coming into the industry. I thought, all Black women I wanted them to be my mentor. Those were the people that were going to be holding me down. It's true. And I think that that's great. And as Black women, we lean that we have a comfort in that, right? But I would just encourage you all, there's a pool of people that are out there waiting for you, waiting to connect with you. So don't sell yourself short by just limiting your scope of who actually can support you with your journey. Some of my best mentors and people to help put me on have been white men. So there's that.